Hello, my friends. It's Brother Sean, the barefoot monk, in fancy dress. I was just about to finish the last video and I got a strong sensation, in fact, in my heart about spiritual bitching. And I thought, I can't really talk about that. What does that mean? So my head was kicking in thinking, don't go there. Give it a wide berth. But then it came to me in my heart, there are many who profess to say they are spiritual light bringers of peace. But behind the closed doors of that facade, they are spiritual bitches. And I thought, oh dear me. So what is a spiritual bitch? Even the word bitch is making me shudder, but bitching I prefer. Spiritual bitching. Well, I guess we're all guilty of that. Or as we used to say years ago in the monastery, forgive me, but when we had recreation, sometimes you would see examples of spiritual bitching where monks were envious and threatened by another's popularity, and they would go to great lengths to discredit them by setting little traps. Can you believe that? Yes, it's true. Even in nursing, which I gave 38 years of my life to a profession I loved, because I didn't come into nursing through the colleges of academia. I came to it as a young nursing monk, because I remember as young novices in Cove, County Cork, excuse me, the Bon Secours nuns ran a home for the elderly, men and women, in the town of Cove, or the Americans called it Cobh, where the famous Titanic sailed from. Lord rest its soul. And even there, washing the men as young novices, getting some first-hand experience of what lay ahead of us as nursing monks. There was a few of the nuns, and they were real examples of spiritual bitching. Oof! Gosh, the hair on my head was standing. But they were lovely with it. But there was always an agenda. They were resentful of Sister so-and-so having all the fuss. And then another sister would come out and say, but what about me? And then years ago, when I lived in North Wales, I was very privileged to be able to go to daily mass at the Mercy Convent. Oh, I shouldn't have said that, should I? Well, anyway, but I witnessed some horrific incidences of where nuns were fighting one another. And one poor sister, she must have had some mental health issues, but she was tormented, always seeking the attention of the superior. And some of the nuns got really fed up with her. And one or two would have a chat with me, and I tell you, if there was a microphone in them walls, I tell you the place would be on fire. They were having a good, healthy bitch about Sister so-and-so. Who does she think she is? I'll put a stop to that. And again, that's human life, human nature. We've seen it in our families. When one steps out of line, the matriarch steps in and immediately slaps their legs, and nothing more is thought of it. But in nursing, oh my word. When I was a senior charge nurse, I witnessed bitching par excellence when we had our monthly meetings with all the senior sisters and charge nurses with our director. My word. You couldn't believe the antagonism and the fault finding. And that's what they focused on. Not finding your redeeming qualities, but finding fault with you. And there was always this heaviness that you were never good enough. And however hard you tried, however long the hours you worked, they still found fault with you. So, what is the relevance today on the spiritual path? Well, I can honestly say, hand on heart, that since taking the message from Assisi in 2008, to reach out to all faiths and none, and to try and become a man of prayer living a simpler life, where I've locked the world and its drama out to try and safeguard my own inner peace. I have to be honest and say I've encountered some real challenges from within my own Christian family. In fact, if the truth be told, one of our retired ministers in the village here, one of the retired Methodist ministers, she went on a tirade of discrediting me, that I wasn't Christian because I used the word sin under Jesus. She was most troubled when I said that Jesus was an Essene, and she wanted me to defend my work. Well, I'm not allowed to defend my work. I'm in service as you are to a supreme power who loves me for me. And ego wants you to defend your work. But your heart says, don't go there, because those who have ears to hear will hear. But what was so interesting was, when people are challenged by the message of love, they can't deal with it because it's a bit like the two-way mirror. When they look in through the mirror and see within your eyes a reflection of who they are, they can't cope with themselves. And that's what I found in my faith journey. When others come into your presence, they can't hold the light. So they will do their utmost, their damnedest, to discredit you. We have it with some neighbours, because the light that flows from our little monastery with the Blessed Sacrament, they can't handle it, and they haven't got the understanding. So rather than allow everything to surrender into the heart, their ego kicks in and they start processing some pretty evil, vitriolic stuff. And then they start lashing out at you in a tirade of really nasty abuse. But being an ambassador of peace in service to God, one God, the daddy of all faiths, of all children, the hostilities that exist within that human family who call themselves children of a loving God. I witnessed it in Northern Ireland when I was a young monk there, when Catholic and Protestant were tearing one another apart through fear, where many were anti-papist. And it's so sad. But why are people afraid? Why are people so put off? Why are people so determined to destroy another in service? I find it so sad, and it's so insular, isn't it, within the interspiritual, interfaith movement. You only have to look at the Abrahamic faith of Jew, Muslim and Christian. There is such a great mistrust of each other. Oh yes, on surface level at communities and meetings, they're very polite and hello, bless you, Father, for I have sinned and all of that, but there is an agenda. Don't touch me. I'm fine. There's an arrogance. And I guess those of us who've trained as therapists, we're not exempt from that either, because many of us have bitched about another therapist. Who does she think she is? Hello. Even vicars, ministers, priests, nuns. We're all human, and we all, forgive me, like a good bitch. But is that what God has called us to be? To be first-class spiritual bitches? No. As kingdom builders, we are called to become paving stones, where those stones, our love, are laid on this road to light, to peace, to joy. And don't you think it's time now that we drew a line in the sand at all our foibles and our silly ways, our idiosyncrasies, and reached out in love? But first we need to ask forgiveness of ourselves, forgiveness of each other, and then consolidate the mighty companions who are committed to peace. And if the established religions of the world are not willing to engage in peace and demonstrate it in their practical daily life. Instead of talking about it, let's walk the talk, which is a favourite saying of mine. And let us be that light shining in the dark. And that will eradicate the need to become a spiritual bitch and destroy that simple pathway of love that God initiated for us through the prophets, the wise men and teachers, and Jesus himself.